Hi, and welcome to the latest presentation for GCSE Religious Studies. In this session, we hope to look at the theme of the sanctity of life within Islam and within Christianity. And there is a short reference at the end of the presentation for those of you who study Judaism as a second religion. So the sanctity of life is a central theme within your GCSE course. So what we hope to do today is give you a summary of the teachings and ideas that can be seen within religion on how valuable human life is. So we hope to reinforce your understanding of the idea of the sanctity of life and the value of human life, and to try and have a brief look at the explain question on your exam paper. So this is an example of a question that could come up on this theme. So with reference to Christianity and Islam, explain teachings regarding the value of human life. You could also get a question asking you to explain the idea of the sanctity of life, which of course you could include what we are going to be discussing today. So these are the bands that the examiners use to answer, to mark your or assess your work on your answers. So there are 4 bands. You may be aware of this already. So after reading your answer, the examiner will decide which band best fits to your answer. So an excellent answer, which is highly detailed, showing good awareness and insights into religious ideas, beliefs, practices, teachings or concepts, and the good use of specialist religious language. You would be given a band 4, which would give you between 7 and 8 marks out of the possible 8 marks. A band 3 would be very good. Band 2 would be satisfactory, and band 1 is limited, and if you get a 0, there is no relevance to your answer to the question. So that's how you try and answer this question, a C question. Just make sure that you do try and include what can be seen in the descriptor of the bands on screen. So if you wanted to create a human being, these are the ingredients or the elements that you would need to create a human body. So if you had a look at these, the different amounts that you need for the human body, and if you went into an imaginary shop and you went to the checkout and you added the value of these ingredients together, they would come to around £3.70. Now, what we need to have a look at in this theme is the human body. Are we as humans more than just a material body, and are we worth more than £3.70 when you consider how amazing and how sophisticated human beings are? Are we worth more value than the elements that create a human body? So what I want you to do first is have a look at these photos and illustrations on the screen. Press the pause button and try and go through them individually and try and identify which elements of human life and human nature can you depict in these pictures. So press the pause button and see if you can see what values to human life are shown in the illustrations. Okay, let's have a look at what we could include into an answer of the question on the value of human life. So some religious and non-religious people would say that we are animals and that we have evolved into sophisticated beings over the centuries. We have reference here to the emotions that we all have as human beings. We are emotional beings and we have different emotions. The idea that we can be caring and that we show love and care and compassion towards others, the ability to show compassion. You would also refer to some religious peoples would actually think that human body is more than just the materialistic, the material matter within the body, that we have a spiritual element to the body, and that this is called obviously the soul, which entitles us to a life after death, the life either in heaven or hell, or the idea of reincarnation, the idea that we're not just matter, that life, and there's an element of human life that actually carries on after death. Over here, you may have depicted this as being able to make good and bad decisions, the idea of a conscience, that we have an inner guide for religious people. The guide comes, it's the voice of God that guides us through life and helps us to make good decisions and stay away from doing bad. The idea of inspiration, so that we can be inspired by others. You may see Martin Luther King there as an example, or we might be able to inspire others to do things, good things in life. So inspiration is really important to human beings. The idea that we have good knowledge and understanding, and that we are intellectual, and that we can study different fields of life. The idea that we have talents, and we have various talents, and that we can actually develop those talents, that we are talented beings. The idea that we can communicate with each other, and we can do it in a sophisticated manner, and that we can even try and learn different languages, that we can try and communicate with each other in different languages. An important thing, obviously, element of human life is the element that we can be actually spiritual. There is a spiritual sphere or realm within human life, that we actually try to think about our place in the world, and try to think of ideas such as God. And then you could also refer to the personalities and the different personalities that we have, which makes us unique. So those are some of the um, ideas that you could refer to as seeing the value of human life. And here's a summary of some of the ideas that you could include on a question on the value of human life. So a person is worth more than the £3.70 it would cost in the ingredients to create a human body. And this is why the idea that we are intelligent beings, that we have an inner sense of morality, we can make good decisions and try and stay away from bad. We have recognition and understanding of what good and evil is. We are quite logical beings, which means that we can work things out to suit us. We can respond to revelation. Things are able to be revealed to us. So that could be within religion, that God could reveal himself through religious experiences or through the sacred texts. We are able to accept revelations from other beings or other things. The idea that we have compassion towards and concern towards others, that we can show love towards one another, that we can create and use tools to live, that we have our own personalities and we have different personalities from one person to another, that we have the ability to be spiritual or to be religious, to think beyond the realm of what we could see within the world and think of our existence and our purpose here on earth, the different characters that people have, the ability that we have to speak, to communicate together and to actually do that in different languages. We can learn different languages. The idea of conscience, the inner moral guide that we have, the idea that we are more than just matter, that there is a spiritual side to the human body as well, which is the soul, which entitles us to a life after death. The idea that we have memories and that we can remember things that have happened in the past, and our emotions, the different emotions that we have, and the idea of inspiration. We can inspire and we can be inspired by others. If you have time, you may want to copy this link on the screen and watch the short video that actually addresses this topic on the value of human life and how different we are to other animals and species. So here is a summary of some of the main teachings about the sanctity of life within Christianity. So remember that you could use these to help you answer any question that could come up on abortion or euthanasia in the question 3 on the exam paper. If a question comes up on capital punishment, you could use some of these teachings to help you answer that question from a Christian perspective, or the idea, of war and conflict, if you can see that now, war and conflict, the idea that the sanctity of life goes against the principle of war. So if we just have a brief look at these teachings, the idea that if you disrespect your life or the life of others, that you are disrespecting God, since he has actually created God. Anything that is sacred is linked or created or sent by God. If you think of other sacred things like the Bible, the church, and water can be holy. They are sacred because they are linked to God or divinity. So if life is linked to God, then if you disrespect life in any way, then you are directly disrespecting God. The idea in the Bible in Psalm 139, where it says that God has created everyone, you could also refer to the Genesis story in the Bible where God creates Adam and Eve. So everybody has been created by God, and it says in that quote, "For you created my innermost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb." So God has designed every human life in its mother's womb. The Ten Commandments, they say thou shalt not kill. So that actually strengthens the idea of how important human life is, and that all human life should be protected. Moving on, the idea of the Imago Dei, that the idea that every human being has been created in God's image. So if we are created, all of us are created in God's image, all human life is therefore important. And God has an interest in every person's life. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, God has interest in all human life. God gives and takes life. It is not a place for a person to decide when somebody lives and when somebody dies. So you could refer to doctors if it's a question on abortion or euthanasia. Um, Capital punishment, a judge should not be able to decide who lives and who dies. And within war and conflict, governments and soldiers should not actually decide who lives and dies. It all comes back to God's decision, not a human being. Life is a precious gift from God, so it should be respected. The idea from the book of Job in the Bible that life is in God's hand. So in his hand, the hand of God, is the life and every living thing and the breath of every man. So everybody's life is in God's hands. He gives it and only he can take it away. The parable of the Good Samaritan, if you've come across it in your course, teaches that we should love our neighbour, and our neighbour is more than just the people who live directly next door to you. It actually means every human being that shares this world with us. We should actually show concern, compassion, and love to all human beings. So every life is precious and every life is unique and should be respected. And if Islam is your second religion of study within your course, then you could actually try and refer to some of these ideas within Islam on the sanctity of life. It is quite similar in some aspects to what can be seen within Christianity, and you may find yourself repeating some of the ideas seen because they are similar between the two religions. But don't be scared of doing that within your answer. You will be credited for showing understanding that the beliefs and the teachings are quite similar from one religion to the other. So any question that comes up on basically on the value of human life or abortion or euthanasia, capital punishment or war and conflict, you could try and include some of these teachings. First of all, disrespecting life is disrespecting Allah, disrespecting God, because He has given you this life and it should be appreciated. It does state within Islam as well that anyone who kills one soul it's as if he has killed all of humanity. Every one life is important and should be respected. So killing one is as if you've killed everybody on earth. Allah has a plan for every life, so we should not try and disrupt that plan by deciding who lives and who dies. God has an interest in every person's life. It is Allah who gives and takes life away. It is not for a person to decide, again, not a doctor, not a judge or a politician to try and decide who lives and who dies. Life is a precious gift from Allah. The Quran says that there is a certain length to a person's life and that we should not try and interact with the length that God has given to every human life. It also states within the Quran that nobody dies without Allah's permission, so it is Allah's decision who lives and who dies. And life is seen as precious and unique. So that's a summary of some of the ideas that you could include on the matter of the sanctity of life or the value of human life. So if you look at the question, with reference to Christianity and Islam, explain teachings regarding the value of human life, you could actually include some of the points that we have discussed in this presentation, and you would be expected to link it to the sanctity of life within these two religions because life is God-given. So here are some further points that you could read and maybe include into an answer from the Christian perspective. These are some of the points that we have discussed most of them we have discussed, but those could help you in answering from a Christian perspective. And these would be some points that you could refer to from an Islamic perspective. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, for those of you who actually study Christianity and Judaism as a second religion of study, here are some answers that you could include. Obviously, the Christianity is going to be the same as what we discussed. And here are your points from Judaism. Again, some would be quite similar to the ideas of Christianity, but don't be afraid to use those teachings that are similar between both religions. There we are. We've just had a brief look at some of the teachings, religious teachings on the value of human life and the idea of the sanctity of life. I do hope that this has been helpful and reinforced some of your understanding on this topic.